Shalomi homies. Thinking about anarchy this morning. So this isn't a message that's been placed on my heart to share. This is just me riffing about my thoughts on anarchy. I haven't studied the subject deeply. I've studied it, like, I guess you would say I've done a cursory run on the subject. Like, I've looked into it on and off throughout my life. Because my heart resonates with anarchy. Like, I have a deep love of freedom and the good, the true, the beautiful. I want to really come to know myself deeply. And I feel that, like, aiming for all of that, like knowing oneself, acting in a way that is good and true and beautiful in alignment with the will of God. I feel like the only way a person could ever truly come to that is if they were living through self-rule, not acting and doing and being based off of rules that are enforced upon them by an outside governing structure, right? Because if that's the case, that outside governing structure is acting as a sort of moral crutch. If you walk on crutches all the time, your muscles, your body atrophies such that you wouldn't actually be able to walk without the crutch. If you're living in a society that doesn't require you to develop a sense of what is right and wrong yourself and act based on that, then you actually have no morals of your own and no values of your own. And if the society, if the governance becomes corrupt, then so do you. And I think it actually, like, a outside governing structure that is acting upon the individual and enforcing its will upon the individual actually leads to that. It leads to moral decay and moral rot because, like I said, these things never have even a chance or a reason to develop. Actually, I think what happens is, like, because things are being forced upon you, all these rules that you never agreed to, like, you're just born into this shit, right? So then where your mind starts going is, if I want to be free, I have to figure out how to get around the rules. Right? So your mind starts developing almost necessarily in a deviant sort of way. It's just like the nature of a human being is to be curious. And it's like, it becomes this taboo of, like, I can't act this way. But now I want to know why I can't act this way, or I want to know what it's like to act this way, simply because you said I can't. Right? Whereas, like, if that rule was never there, you would just have to go about life really considering, should I do this or not? And natural law would inform how we evolve and how we relate to one another. The law of the jungle, like, people would actually start falling in line and behaving according to what is most conducive to peace and harmony in life, because life always wins, God always wins. And sometimes that involves, like, conflicts and death, and we still have that even within the structure we're in. We go to war, we murder and kill and rape and pillage, and we call it a military. It's a gang. Our military basically is just, like, it's a bunch of gang members that work for our mafia that is our government. So it's not like our governing structure is keeping us all moral. It's actually preventing us from developing our own morals and ethics. That's how I feel about it, ultimately. And, like, but there's all different ways to go about anarchy. Like, obviously, because every individual is different, so the way you go about self-rule is going to look different. right? There are people who really like capitalism, so they would approach self-rule as a capitalist. And there are people who really like the idea of communism, and they would approach anarchy through the lens of communism. And that's what's coming, because our structure is breaking down, which only leaves anarchy. So that's why I'm thinking about this. But my flavor of anarchy as a person who is deeply spiritual and concerned with getting to know myself and getting to know God and strengthening that relationship is enlightened anarchy, right? And I believe that if you wanted to live in a world that is full of enlightened people who have morals and ethics and values, anarchy is the only way to go about that. Like I said, because we're not walking on moral crutches that is the system that infantilizes us and makes us dependent. So I think that all that leads to violence and war, because it's like there's bureaucracy. The system is like built on bureaucracy, which means you're always outsourcing everything, including your morals. Like if you got 12 different people working on the same project and it's all the different parts of that project are compartmentalized, no one who's involved has to take full responsibility. That's what a corporation is. And this government that we live in the United States of America is a corporation. Like a corporation can steal and murder and pollute, and no one who's involved in that corporation has to take responsibility as an individual. That's a surefire recipe for immorality. If everybody is self-ruling and accountable for their actions, I guarantee you naturally we would all start to act better, because we would be held accountable as an individual. We would start acting in ways that are good for not just ourselves, but for everyone around us. Because we would have to be responsible and accountable by our peers. We would be held accountable. And that's where we're headed. We're headed to a world where there's not going to be a structure. There's not going to be, Uncle Sam, telling us what to do, wagging his finger, writing out tickets. No, we're going to have to figure that out ourselves. It's coming. So, that's why I'm thinking about this. And, we're going to have to form necessarily, because we need each other. People need each other. Like we've been sold this bill of goods about the rugged individual, and everybody needs their own house and their own car and their own lawnmower, and that's so that we will fuel this beast. That's why we've been sold that idea of like what it is to be like a real adult is to not need anybody. That's all upside down. It's a lie. So the lie is crumbling, and the truth is we need each other. So we're going to have to figure out how to be with each other in a way that is most conducive to peace and harmony and love and flourishing, lest we all murder each other. So that means we're going to have to find like-minded people that we can form small, overlapping communities with, because diversity is what makes life go on and possible. So you don't want everyone doing the same thing, right? For the sake of resilience of all life, you want communities that look different, that have different cultures, that have different beliefs, because everyone does have different beliefs. And some people have beliefs that are more aligned to you than others, and that's not your tribe. So we find our little tribes, and we team up, and we work for life and for love and for harmony. And then my tribe overlaps with this tribe over here, and we are complementary. And the way that we complement each other gives rise to some emergent property that's good for both tribes, and the ones outside of that, like it's the circle of life, small overlapping circles of communities, anarchist, in that every community is ruling itself based on the individuals inside of it who are taking responsibility and accountability for how they are impacting everyone within their community. Small enough that you can't get lost in the crowd. Like if you are acting like a jackass, you're going to have to go to the meeting that everyone goes to once a month, and you're going to have to tell everybody why you acted that way. You know? Like the way that things are set up now, you can just go move to a city full of 1 million people. And if you're a jackass to your neighbors, you just move on down the road to the next neighborhood and start over, and no one knows what you did. No, that's not conducive. That setup is not conducive to humans reaching their full potential insofar as being ethical and loving, you know? Being able to hide in a mass. That's not conducive to becoming enlightened. If you're looking to be an actualized, loving child of God, and not everyone is, and I don't want to be in community with those people, but they have a right to exist, just not next door to me. That's what's coming. We got to figure out who our tribe is, like who are our people, and come together and grow food, to gather water, like chop wood, actually be involved in meeting our own survival needs. Because that's how life works. That's how it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to outsource the real cost of your irresponsible consumption to people on the other side of the world because you're entitled to it. You're not entitled. We're not entitled. And we're about to get slapped right in the damn face with that truth as American citizens, you know? So that's why I'm thinking about anarchy, because it's coming. And it's like, how am I going to approach it? How are you going to approach it? I think it's a good thing to sit with. I had the book called, I don't know if I said this in the beginning of the video. If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but Michael Malice, he has a podcast called You're Welcome, but he spells it like the conjunction, like you are. You're welcome. He's an anarchist, and I love this dude. He wrote a book called The Anarchist Handbook, and it's a collection of essays from anarchists, self-identified anarchists throughout history, because there's all different kinds of flavors of anarchy. Like you could be a capitalist or a communist in so far as like how you want to approach the economy. And so you're going to approach self-rule through that lens. You could be an anarcho-communist or an anarcho-capitalist and anything in between. So that's like, this handbook is a good introduction to like to the subject in general, and like not just seeing anarchy as like, oh, no rules, like all chaos, you know, do whatever you want whenever you want. That's not what anarchy is. I mean, it can be if that's who you are, but it's all about the self, ruling the self. So yeah, maybe check that out if you want to get deeper into the subject and consider it. I think I'm going to order it again because I had it a couple years ago, and I read part of it, and I don't know what happened to it. I lost it somewhere along the way. And maybe I already, like I said, maybe I already mentioned that in the beginning of the video. I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, how are you going to approach the anarchy that is coming?